y'all know no matter what time it is, we thank God every minute of every day. We want to welcome you to In the Huddle with Joe Ham. I'm your boy, Ryan Stewart, and that's your man right there, the college football Hall of Famer himself, Joe Hamilton in the building. What up, Joe?
Man, everything's up, man. Doing well. I just don't want you to pinch me, my brother. Do not pinch me, man. This is a football lover's dream this weekend coming up with all this football I'm consuming. I'm taking time and being grateful for everything else that's important in my life. I'm making sure I do that. But I'm telling you, man, I am hungry. I am hungry for this weekend in football coming up, man. I am football heaven. I am in right now, Stu Dog.
We've talked a couple of times already in 2025, but this will be the first show that we've done together and the first time I've seen you in the new year. Happy New Year. How strong did you end 2024 before we get into these sports?
Oh, man, benching over 300 pounds, taking on, tackling everything that comes my way, not running from adversity, taking it head on. And, I went back and remembered some of the New Year's resolution from past, even 10 years ago, 9 years ago, 5 years ago. And the one I stopped about midway through the year, I went back and rehashed some of those things. And I didn't necessarily set any, New Year's resolution like that. I said to myself, man, go ahead and just embrace this servanthood. Go ahead and be of service. And of service, who, Joe Ham? The good Lord Almighty. Just serve him. And that'll take care of everything else, too. I'm doing fabulous, man. Doing fabulous. How you doing, man? You look shiny. You look bright, bro.
Hey, look, man, that's called sweat. That's called sweat. I got this bright light on top of me right now, and this light been making me sweat, Joe. So that's just a little bit of sweat. But while talking about 2024, we ended the year strong, man. Took the fam out to Seattle for a couple of days, and we got away and enjoyed ourselves. Came back home and was real lazy for a few days, man. And turned around into 2025, and just that quick, we've fallen upon another break with MLK holiday coming up this weekend. So things are good, man. There's no complaints, and things are really, really good, man.
And let's not get too caught up in MLK Day and that we forget sometimes. I had to remind myself, it's happy birthday today to Martin Luther King Jr.
Right.
Yeah, the 15th is his day.
Right.
The day is truly, we should celebrate the whole entire month of January and February. But anyway, next Monday is the celebration, the national holiday. Today is the big, the big ambassador. Martin Luther King's birthday today, no doubt.
Yeah, on Wednesdays, me and the 100 Black Men of Columbus, we go to the schools and we mentor a couple of different schools throughout the course of the year. And one of the mentors, Johnny Warner, today goes, it's MLK weekend this weekend, right, Stu? I said, yes, sir, I do. Taking the family away for a couple of days just to get away. And he goes, but did you know what today is? And I was like, wait a minute. Today is his actual birthday. He said, that's right. That's right. He said, because of the holiday and how commercialized it is now, people forget that it's MLK's birthday today. So happy heavenly birthday to the king himself, Martin Luther King Jr. We appreciate you and all that you've done for us, man. Even though you're there, we do want to celebrate you and give you your flowers from here on your birthday. So happy heavenly birthday to MLK.
There you go.
All right, man.
There you go. And those doors are still opening that he opened way back when.
Yep, they are, man. They really are. Let's get into it, man. In the Huddle with Joe Hamilton. Big weekend coming up in the world of the NFL, but we're going to put the NFL on hold for a second. I just mentioned Joe being a college football Hall of Famer. We're going to start there. So we saw Notre Dame handle their business 27-24. We saw Ohio State handle their business 28-14 over Texas. And this Monday, we get to see two blue bloods in college football. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish will take on the Ohio State Buckeyes right in the ATL at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Joe, how excited are you about this game before we chop it up and start talking X's and O's for Monday's big national championship game? How excited are you?
Extremely excited, Stu. Extremely excited. I'm talking about the whole entire college football season. To me, has been a plus, a win, an accomplishment, entertainment. And I think it's because we started this thing off as saying that more teams will get in because you didn't lose your first game or you didn't lose early in the season. You still have a chance. We had big matchups at the beginning of the season and big matchups throughout the season, so you never really got bored. And, oh, by the way, we have to give credit, a lot of credit to the college football committee. All right, we gossip at the end of the season, and we talk about, did they get it right? Who should be the seed? At the end of the day, when you get in Ohio State and Notre Dame, in my opinion, they thought they were there. Yeah, you can talk about the seedings, but guys, this got decided on the football field. Now, you can say, oh, this, you can say Alabama, and who got left out. No. They lost their bowl game. Now, I know that you were talking about transfer portal and guys opting out. They didn't have anything to play for. You can miss me with that one. Okay, you can miss me with that one. You had to go. Notre Dame earned their way in, whether they're in a conference or not, independent. I don't want to hear it. And Ohio State, whatever happened after Michigan, they rallied the cap, they stood behind their coach, and they had something to prove. Can you imagine that team with that much talent having a chip on their shoulders?
You said like 15 things I want to talk about, but I want to expound upon one thing real quick. A decade ago, 5 years ago, to open the season up with Notre Dame playing NIU at the Golden Dome in Indiana, if they take that loss 10 years ago, 5 years ago, they're done, son. They're
Big
done,
point.
son.
Big point. Big point.
NIU, a good football team that did not have the year that we thought they would have after a huge win, game 1 versus Notre Dame, they fell off. But that would have killed Notre Dame in the past. But not this year, thanks to the 12-team playoff. Joe, take it wherever you want to take it to start talking about this national championship. How excited are you to see Ohio State and Notre Dame? Who do you think is going to win? Give me your breakdown, Joe.
Yeah, I love this matchup. I love this matchup because, again, Ohio State, the number 1 ranked defense in all of college football. I'm not just talking about the Big Ten, all of college football, under 14 points a game, total yards in the 200, low 200s. They're balling. They are balling. Notre Dame, top 5 defensively, again, in the country. So those guys are going to be smash mouth at the line of scrimmage, hitting coverages, dictating that the quarterback you cannot hide. You cannot hide your quarterback in a game like this. With that being said, Stu, I think Ohio State, they're getting 8 points now. They're giving away 8 points to Notre Dame right now. That's a big number, and I think they're going to cover that big number. And here's the reason why. Al Golden, the defensive coordinator for the Fighting Irish, you can't change up your whole entire game plan in a week and a half. Yeah, you can have some wrinkles. You can have some unscripted look, what they call them, that the other team hadn't seen yet and you might not prepare for, but you can't change. And why I say that is because he loves the blitz. He loves to play one high, cover one, what we call it. That's man-to-man with a free safety in the middle of the football field. And when you look at it, that does not match up at all with the Ohio State Buckeyes. You can't look at Texas and what Texas did, holding Jeremiah Smith to only 1 catch for 3 yards. Yeah, that was the case, but they were able to bracket him. They were able to play zones, one on the top, a safety over the top, and even a linebacker buzzing out a little bit. But that's not who you are. You are a blitzing scheme, zone blitzing, combo coverages type of Notre Dame, and you leave those cornerbacks on an island. You cannot do that against Ohio State. They'll run you out of the gym. And when I spoke about Ohio State's defense as well, I do not see Notre Dame getting to 20 points at all. And if they do, Notre Dame have a really, really good chance. He has a good chance of winning the ball game. But I don't see enough weapons offensively for Notre Dame to kind of penetrate the Ohio State defense.
So Texas, a team that only put up 14 points in that game versus Ohio State in that 28-14 loss, they did shut down Jeremiah Smith. You don't think Notre Dame's going to be able to go to the film from that last week, that one catch game that Jeremiah Smith had? You don't think Notre Dame's going to be able to go to the film and reproduce or duplicate what Texas did to shut Smith out in that game?
Yes and no. Yes and no. Yes, they'll be able to go to the film and watch and see what Texas did to kind of, bracket Jeremiah Smith, take him out of the game. But duplicate, replicate, take it. You can. That's not your players. That's not your scheme. You've played a lot of football, Stu, and you know how hard it is to revamp. It's almost like when you're playing an option team and you hadn't played him all week, all year, and you're trying to change up that defensive end to say, hey, I know I told you get after the quarterback for 10 straight games, 12 straight games, but this particular game this week, I want you to try to slow play it. Yeah, I want you to slow play it.
I want you to read and react.
Yeah, and that guy's coachable. That guy understands what you're saying in the game plan, but you just can't rewire your system like that. And as a defensive coordinator, he can't rewire his playbook. Yes, he can rewire his playbook in the offseason, but it's hard to do that in a week. And again, you're going to mix some of the things that Texas did to stop Jeremiah Smith, but you're going to have to play some of your bread and butter with your guys feel comfortable playing all year.
In the huddle with Joe Hamilton, talking about the national championship game that goes down this Monday in the ATL at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That's right, it will be the Ohio State Buckeyes versus the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I'm a handicapper. I like to call myself a handicapper. All throughout the course of the year, I send you text messages, who you like in this game and why. Hey, ain't 5 too many points? I don't believe they're giving so-and-so 10 points. We do that all year long. When I look at games, there's 3 things I tend to base my predictions on. Who has the better offensive line and defensive line? Question to you. Notre Dame's playing Ohio State. Which team is better in the trenches? Notre Dame or Ohio State?
Ohio State. Ohio State is better in the trenches, and especially for this game that's coming up on Monday. Notre Dame is down a few offensive linemen. That's going to hurt. And the reason why I pick Ohio State, because defensively, they get it done. Defensively, that's why they allowed for Caleb Williams and the other safety and the boys to go hunt and go eat and freelance, because you don't have to send anybody. You don't have to send the will linebacker. You don't have to send the strong side Sam linebacker, because those guys, Sawyer and those guys up front, they're getting to the quarterback just rushing 4. And when you just rush 4, that means you can do a lot of things in the back end, and that's what Jim knows, the defensive coordinator, he does. He's let those guys roam as safeties, sure tackling safeties, and they come down, and if they have to have one of those safeties, where I anticipate be a spy on Riley Leonard, because he can hurt you with his feet. I think that's what they're going to do as well. One of those athletic safeties that can run with them. And again, it's a clashing of styles for Notre Dame. I love the fact that they're there. I love the fact that they earn their way there, but they like to ground and pound. They like to run the ball downhill. Yes, with Love and Riley Leonard is a part of that offensive line. If they're healthy, they can maul you. But that's the strength of the Ohio State Buckeyes. And if Riley Leonard only passed for 80 yards against Georgia, he picked it up a little better against Penn State.
Not much.
He's going to have to not much at all. He's going to have to have a better efficient night to beat Ohio State. Where are the explosive plays going to come from the Fighting Irish? I don't see it.
If you're giving Ohio State the trenches, who are you giving the better head coach to? Ryan Day or Mr. Freeman?
It's easy to be a prisoner of the moment. It's easy to be that and pick Ryan Day, but I can't. Overall, the way that Marcus Freeman has taken over from Brian Kelly, built that program the way he wanted to build that program. He's getting it done in 3 phases of the football game. I think he's always in the game. He doesn't look overwhelmed, and I've seen Ryan Day like that. Now, Ryan Day is coaching his butt off right now, and that's a tough question, Stu. He is coaching his butt off right now, but I just think Marcus Freeman, the motivator, the in the foxhole type coach, got his guys believing in, it just that NIU loss to me, and he galvanized everybody. I will give the slight edge to Marcus Freeman, because I've seen Ryan Day in a lot of big games, and he hadn't come out on top.
You're giving the trenches to Ohio State. You're giving the head coach to Notre Dame. This is the Joe Ham Show, or In the Huddle with Joe Ham. So my thoughts will be shared tomorrow. I think because of the injuries that you mentioned to Notre Dame, that Ohio State may be better in the trenches. So that's 1-1 right now. Part 3 of the deciding factor for me when it comes to being a handicapper: Will Howard at quarterback, Riley Leonard at quarterback. If you had to pick one of the quarterbacks to say, this guy is the guy over that guy, who are you taking, Will Howard or Riley Leonard?
That's why I love this matchup, Stu. I'm taking Riley Leonard. And I'm taking him solely off of just his pure competitiveness. I mean, that guy's will to win. That first down he got against the Georgia Bulldogs when he acted like John Elway, seeing the first down, being the first down, not being denied. And just he's against the tough-nosed yards. You talk about game of inches. If you need a yard, he's going to give you a yard and a half. He's going to do whatever it takes. And I think to some extent, while like Will Howard, he's somewhat of a product of his system. He's somewhat the product of having a lot of talent around him to be able to be a point guard and distributing the ball. But he had a fantastic season. But right now, for me, in the competitive toughness, I'm going with Riley Leonard.
We're on a neutral field, which is the fourth thing that I tend to look at. Who's home? Who's got their crowd? Who slept in their bed last night? Who didn't have to travel? Those things matter to me. So in the trenches, you said Ohio State. Head coach, you said Notre Dame. Quarterback, you said Leonard, Notre Dame. And it's a neutral field. So just off those four things alone, Joe, if I ask you who's going to win the game, you're telling me you think it's going to be Notre Dame because they've got the point. But you don't think it's Notre Dame. You said Ohio State. The way I'm looking at it, does that make you change your philosophy, your thought process? You said Ohio State, but you've given more points to the question to Notre Dame.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Because, again, we have to play the game and game on paper, game with skill set. If everybody plays a perfect game, which is not going to happen, but most all guys play, up to their potential. They don't give away the church's money as far as having a lot of turnovers. Ohio State has the most talent. I mean, they're more talented. So this game is going to come back to now the unscripted looks, the trickums, what I like to call them, the gadget. I think Marcus Freeman and his staff, more so than anything, is going to have to try to steal a possession. How do you do that? Maybe it's a reverse pass. Maybe it's a surprise onside kick. Maybe it's one of those, double reverses. Maybe it's a flea flicker. Fake punt. I don't know what it is, but I think Notre Dame, when you come in, and that's not a slight on Notre Dame, I think they're less talented. They play hard. That's one of their staples. They play hard. They play together. They're one team. They get it done in all three phases. Kick return for Georgia, turning the ball over offensively, getting a nice strip sack before halftime. All those things as a team, they're very well coached. Overall talent, man, is going to come down to how can Notre Dame force turnovers and steal an extra possession. And without that, and they can still lose the game doing that. That's how much talented I think Ohio State is than Notre Dame.
My board says Ohio State -8. At one point in time, a buddy of mine called me like, you need to jump on Notre Dame right now. They got them at -9.5. Plus 9.5. So they were giving Notre Dame 9.5. I missed that. When I got to my guy, it was already at 8. You like Ohio State to win this ball game. Do you like Ohio State to cover the 8 points?
Yeah, I like the Ohio State winning by double digits. I like Ohio State stopping.
Joe.
I like.
Wait.
Yes.
When we broke it down, line item by line item, you gave the points to Notre Dame.
Yeah, but
so now you're saying, I know I give the points to Notre Dame, but I think Ohio State will beat Notre Dame by double digits, even crushing the number of 8?
Yeah, you're thinking about it all wrong, buddy. All wrong. And this is what you're thinking about. You're thinking when I say the trenches, one team is a B and the other team is a F-. No. It's very, very close. So one team I might. Yes.
Two A's.
So
You're right.
I'm not dealing with some drop off. I'm dealing with tough questions you presented me that I had to make a decision. I can't straddle the fence. But when you lean on those guys, when you got more talent, when you have more depth, and it gets late in the fourth quarter when you can run guys on and off the field and get fresh guys, and that guy's a 4-star, and that guy's a 5-star, and that guy has just as much speed as the guy he's replacing. That adds up.
I think Notre Dame, I read that Notre Dame has 1 or 2 5-stars, whereas Ohio State has like 10. That's a big difference. You're right.
It's a huge difference. And so again, now, you're gonna have to play your best ball. Right, and both teams are going to have to play their very best to win. Ohio State might come out there and just, wet the bed like they did against Michigan. Who knows? But again, I think Notre Dame is going to have to force that on them. And again, why I give Ohio State a slight edge because they've been in more games like this. Ryan Day's been in a few games like this. He went to the college playoffs, almost beat Georgia. Every year against Michigan is a huge game, no matter what. Now, he's lost the majority of those games, but he's been
lost
in
all
it.
of them. I don't think he's beat Michigan since he's been there.
I think he might have won one way back when you and I were born.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's again. So I think now you talk about a monkey off of his back. He can surely put that to bed if he can win this national championship. And I firmly believe he'll do it by double digits.
In the Huddle with Joe Hamilton, just got done talking about a little national championship game that's going down on Monday. The Stews will cover that game a little bit tomorrow because we do come on live tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. And we will also cover that game on Monday prior to kickoff on Monday morning at 7 o'clock. So maybe we'll get Joe back on prior to that. That's the national championship talk, Joe. Let's stay in college and the world of college sports right now. I read a couple of days ago that there was actively 7,000 plus players in the transfer portal. Okay. One of the players that everyone knows about is Mr. Beck, Carson Beck from Georgia. I want to talk to you about Carson Beck, Joe, and how you can be as successful as he was in Athens at the University of Georgia. You can get injured, miss your opportunity to get to a national championship this year, not have the year you wanted to have.
Yeah.
And then you transfer. You transfer, leaving Georgia. You're now going to Miami. To my understanding from doing a little bit of reading, his girlfriend is on one of the sports teams down there in Miami. I think it's the soccer team. Is that correct?
Basketball. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And they can hoop.
Okay.
Yes.
So
they're twins.
Carson Beck leaves Georgia and goes to Miami. Carson Beck gets $4 million to do so. I don't know if you want to start by talking about the portal. I don't know if you want to start by maybe expressing possible disappointment in Beck for not seeing it through and staying in Athens. Give me your thoughts on Carson Beck no longer being a Georgia Bulldog, now being a Miami Hurricane.
Yeah, I love this. I love this topic about Carson Beck because it helped me brainstorm a lot. It helped me not make a knee-jerk reaction about how I felt about him. Just put myself in his spot, putting myself with the people around him. I'm going to give him credit for this. He consulted a lot of people. I mean, he talked to people around him. I mean, whether it's the higher power, advisors, people who's done that before, the situations. He didn't put all his eggs in one basket, because the reason why I say that, Stu, is because he declared for the NFL draft first. All right, so somebody's told him that was the right decision, but he just didn't leave it there. He still did his research, kept his options open. So now when you look back at it, when he decided, and I hope it was a conversation with Coach Kirby Smart, that he said, hey, I might be coming back. Is there room for me at Georgia? Would y'all like me back? That would have been the prudent thing to do. Just, Coach, I'm coming back. Coach, I'm deciding that I don't want to go to the NFL. Huh?
Please remember what you're about to say. Please remember. Don't forget what you're about to say, because I'm cutting you off real quick. Joe, how times have changed.
Yes.
How times have changed. You just said the former starting quarterback, while talking to the head coach, is asking him, will y'all have me back? Do you have space for me? How times have changed.
Yeah. And you know what? How you carry yourself as a quarterback? Are you macho? Are you giving? Do you share it with your teammates? Are you the big man on campus and letting stepping on your tippy toes? Are you that type of guy? Or are you a humble guy and you galvanize the whole entire locker room? It's something the head coach is going to look at. Now, I'm not sure he had a conversation with Coach Kirby Smart about that. Right, I would, especially if I'm coming back to college. Oh, so now again, he decides to go to Miami. I think it's an excellent idea. Excellent idea because, again, why'd you go back to school? For number one, you didn't have the season you wanted to have. For preseason, you were a top 5 pick. Some experts or analysts had you the number 1 quarterback coming back, Carson Beck. All right, so now the season didn't turn out the way it turned out. Also, you can come back and improve on that. You can come back in with a talented offense in Miami who's got a lot of young guys coming back, especially offensively. Maybe you can go out for that national championship you did not win when you came back to Georgia. Miami, I know they're going to have to shore up their defense a little bit. But, yeah, you have an opportunity. And look at this, Stu. I'll bring up Will Levis to you from Tennessee. Will Levis from the Tennessee Titans was a second-round draft pick. All right, and say what you want to say about his pro career, but I think they're going to draft another quarterback 1 overall. But I brought him up to tell you this. Carson Beck is going to make more money than Will Levis this season.
Yeah.
Carson Beck is going to make more money than Will Levis this season, and Will Levis was a second round. So if you do that math, Carson Beck was not projected when he put his name in the hat for the draft to go first round. Maybe not second round. Maybe third to fourth round. So if he was
for the record, Beck's going to make more than every rookie quarterback that's in the league right now. Jaden Daniels, who's playing in the second round of the NFL playoffs this weekend versus Detroit in Detroit. Beck next year will be making more money than Jaden Daniels.
Yes. And that's what we're talking about. If, his stock dropped a little bit. Now you are able to, if your money, if you want money, and everybody does, you go back to college, you can get that money, $4 million, like you alluded to. I think maybe a little bit under that, who knows, but we'll cap it off at $4 million. And oh, by the way, Stu, you can improve your stock. So you're going back, you're not getting drafted. I know about the dreams of a lot of people saying, I want to go to the NFL. I dreamt about that my entire childhood. I want to go now. I get that. That was my dream. I want to get there. It doesn't matter, 5th round, 6th round, what have you. But for him to come back, I think that decision was very prudent because I get to work on my game. I get to earn some money, more money than Will Levis, more money than some pro prospect that you alluded to, first round draft picks last year. And I can work on my game and improve my draft status. That's a win-win for me, man. Because the only one that's really upset right now could only be, the Georgia Bulldogs fan, and I can kind of understand. But that's the only one that couldn't back up or could not see Carson Beck's decision.
Before we go to Georgia's new starter in Beck's absence, I did want to mention this to you. Not only is he getting the $4 million, not only will he have another chance to increase his draft stock to where it was last season, because he's coming off of a bad year. He's leaving the SEC and leaving at Athens, and he's going to Miami in the ACC. You know what that means? His numbers should go up.
Yeah.
He's going to be playing lesser competition in the ACC. And Joe, you and I both, we love the ACC. It's our home.
Yeah.
It's who we are, okay? But the ACC right now is an inferior product to the SEC when it comes to talent and teams in college football. So, brilliant move by Carson Beck to get the hell out of Athens and get the hell out of the SEC and get a payday while doing so. Go someplace that's another incredible program to be a part of in Miami with lesser talent week in and week out on Saturdays. And also, now you get a chance to lift your numbers up so your draft stock does go back to where it was after your bad football season. Your thoughts on that, Joe? He thought about all of it when he made this decision, Joe.
Yeah, an outstanding job. I agree with everything you said, and I think that kudos to Carson Beck. Kudos to Carson Beck for not really, listening to holding off, not liking your draft status, not liking where the report came back that you might get drafted, understanding that I have some things that I can get better on, I can work on. And let's face it, man, Georgia led the country in drop passes by, a pass receiver this past season. So his numbers could have been even better. But so now you come back, you swallowed your pride about being a top 5 pick, but I wouldn't even call it a do-over. This is a year of eligibility that you have left. It's yours. It's yours. Who wouldn't want to come back and get better? Who doesn't want to improve their draft status and then be home or around your girlfriend where she's playing basketball and I'm playing football? I mean, that's a college player's dream. Why rush off when you're having a lot of fun in college? I get it, Carson Beck. I absolutely get it.
Part B of the Carson Beck story. If he had stayed in Athens and came back to the Dogs with Kirby Smart, who was going to start? Carson Beck or Gunnar Stockton? Let the streets tell it. Let my naked eye call it. I'm telling you right now that Gunnar Stockton would probably give that team next season a better opportunity than Carson Beck would. You agree or disagree?
I disagree. No, it's going to be Carson Beck because, again, if Carson Beck comes back or was going to be back up in Athens, that meant that he handled his offseason to Coach Kirby Smart the right way. And Coach Mike Bobo, offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, the right way. He sat down, he knocked on those guys' door and said, this is how I'm thinking. This is where I'm, what I'm leaning towards doing. And if I come back, he's a better quarterback than Gunnar Stockton. You know what I did not see? I did not see.
We disagree about that.
Well, I don't know why we disagree because, again, I tell you what I didn't see. I did not see the dual threat, explosive running game that Gunnar Stockton was supposed to bring to the Georgia Bulldogs offense. I heard about it going and being the second half of the Texas game in the SEC championship game. He made some plays with his legs. He sparked the team, yes. But in the next game, his full game starting, and I know it's tough to start a playoff game, your first start ever. Did you see a dual? Did you see? Did you see a dual threat quarterback? Did you see a lot of boots and waggles and called quarterback runs? I didn't see a dual threat athlete.
I made so much money off that game because I knew Gunnar Stockton wasn't going to be able to win that ball game for his first start. The magnitude of that game was way higher than Gunnar Stockton's playing ability to this point. So I won a lot of money on that. However, I do think that Gunnar Stockton showed potential, even though versus Notre Dame, the dual threat was minus 23 yards rushing.
No, you have to take into account sacks for that.
But he got bottled up.
That's right. But still, even with getting bottled up, you can see a guy that can escape pressure. You can see a guy that you give him 5 yards, he's going to take 15 to 20 yards. You can see a guy, I didn't even see the game plan like get on my back. And I cannot tell you now eventually, but if Carson Beck, remember what we're doing now, we're comparing that to if Carson Beck came back. And he's not going to be a better quarterback than Carson Beck. Now, you might have a different style of offense, but as far as pure throwing of the football, no, Carson Beck is not, 2025, mobile or escapability type quarterback in the pocket, but he can spin that football. I'll take him over Gunnar Stockton. Yes, I will.
It's your boys, the Two Last Twos, minus Doug Stewart. It's Ryan Stewart. It is In the Huddle with Joe Hamilton every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock. Before we get out of the world of college football, Joe, while mentioning Gunnar Stockton, while talking about Carson Beck, I want to throw things to Texas real quick. What's going to happen in Texas when it comes to Quinn Ewers being there or Arch Manning being there? A lot of people started calling for Archie Manning this season, midway through the season. People were tired of Ewers already. What do you think is going to happen in Texas when it comes to the quarterback next season, Joe?
What I think is going to happen is that Arch Manning is going to take that offense to new heights. What's going to happen, I think, next year is that Arch Manning will be right back fighting for a national championship, and you're going to see better quarterback play, more dynamic quarterback play from Arch Manning than Quinn Ewers. When you talk about a dual threat, mobile quarterback, that's Arch Manning. I mean, he was brought in to run the zone read and short yardage and goal line situation for Texas. Here's the deal, Stu. I want to give you an example about why Quinn Ewers had to leave Texas. And it had nothing to do with peer pressure, had nothing to do with outside noise and fans calling for Arch Manning. Arch Manning's legacy and lineage as far as dad and uncles and grandpa. No. It's like Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa. Jalen Hurts went to Oklahoma. Why? Because he's in the meeting room every single day with that dude. A dude. Tua was that dude. And Jalen Hurts saw it front and center. And he's saying, what he came in and doing, what he's doing, I think it's better for me to go ahead over here. I've graduated. Let me go. That guy is not in any politics. That guy's pretty good. Quinn Ewers is seeing the same thing. He's been in there with Arch Manning. He sees the ball come off of his finger. He sees the knowledge. He sees the guy's ready right now, and he knows that this guy's catching me. This guy's catching me. Outside of experience, nothing gives me the advantage over this guy anymore. So as I look at this guy that's been in the same meeting room for me for a whole year and a half now, it's time for me to move on because eventually I have to find another spot, NFL or another team, or he's going to take my spot during the spring. That's what Quinn Ewers was thinking about.
Both of those quarterbacks, Quinn Ewers as well as Carson Beck, both of their stocks dropped to the point where they need to stay in college football. But I don't
Yeah.
know if Ewers is going to go any place and make the kind of money that Carson Beck just made. What's your
No,
thoughts on
no,
that?
no. He was the big man on campus going into last year. But that's the thing about it. You were on film this year, and you and I talked about it previously. NIL, handling of money, handling of fame, prosperity, being all that pressure that you are the guy we want you to deliver, Heisman talk, All-American talk, that wears and tears on some people. We know about, all the accolades that Carson Beck got, the NIL money. We know about the NIL money that, that all your money gives Quinn Ewers in Texas. They weren't able to do it. And on the flip side, your boy over there in Colorado, give him kudos. You want to talk about the risks and all that NIL money? Shedeur Sanders performed under that. Now, I know BYU, they had a game plan against those guys. I understand all that. But as far as the money and not letting it go to his head, I think Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward, they did very good jobs of not letting that affect their play on the football field.
Mentioning Shedeur Sanders makes me think it's time for us to move into the National Football League. Shouts out to my man, Mr. International, for the super chat. Gave us about $10, man. We appreciate that because we are here out of the kindness of our heart. We're not being paid, Mr. International, but thank you for your blessing of $9.99, and hopefully we'll see you in the morning. NFL games this weekend, Joe. This is In the Huddle with Joe Hamilton. I'm your boy, Ryan Stewart, hosting the show with Joe tonight. Chiefs versus Texans, Bills versus Ravens, Lions versus Commanders, Eagles versus Rams. Joe, take it wherever you want to take it. Let's talk National Football League playoff weekend divisional series.
I have to start off first of all of saying that the Kansas City Chiefs, the two-time defending world champions, Super Bowl champions, they're on a mission. Can you be on another mission to win three in a row? Can you be on a mission to do something that no team has ever done in the National Football League's history? I think that's what the Kansas City Chiefs are eyeing right now, and I'm with them. Now, this is not just a young team getting rest. A young team didn't know how to practice while they were off. A young team not getting a little bit rusty and not knowing the magnitude of the playoffs. No, these are veterans. These are sure shot Hall of Famers in Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and their head coach, Andy Reid, and probably Steve Spagnuolo on defense as well. So I look for the Kansas City Chiefs to really teach the Houston Texans a lesson about what it takes to win a Super Bowl. Houston is game, really, really good coach. C.J. Stroud, he made some balls in that playoff game. He threw some balls that were just spot on, big boy type quarterback. That defense from the Texans played lights out. Coming off the edge, lights out linebacker. You got your Derek Stingley Jr., Kamari Lassiter at the cornerback position playing well. I just got Kansas City. The experience, rest to get healthy.
Is it too much rest though, Joe? I mean, at the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes has probably been resting for about 3 weeks now. Is it too much rest?
No, not too much rest. And I love your question, but not for veterans, not for guys that know how to work hard on Wednesday, work hard on Thursday, even though we're not playing on Sunday, to get my body in game time shape and to get healthy. Those guys that didn't play healthy at all, and to hear from the scouting report or the injury report that everybody were full participants in practice this week for Kansas City. That's a veteran team. And again, that's on the road. That's at home. I like those guys, no doubt about it. I want to stay over there in the AFC with the big game. Yeah, the big game. My goodness, man. The Ravens and the Bills. Whoa.
Two
heavyweight fight.
Two incredible quarterbacks. Joe, you're a quarterback yourself. I can't wait to get your thoughts on Lamar versus well, I've given him a very, very hard time. I've busted his balls, but he's played exceptionally well this year in Josh Allen. Your thoughts on that game, Joe?
Yeah, but you need to live in the moment a little bit, and rightfully so. You've given Josh Allen a lot of criticism. I feel you on that. When to whom much is given, much is required or asked. Yes. So, but he balled out. Lamar Jackson, historic season. And I feel that, again, the Baltimore Ravens is their time. But the guy I'm watching for Baltimore Ravens style is Todd Monken. Todd Monken, Stu, is the offensive coordinator. He cannot try to get too cute. Lamar Jackson cannot all of a sudden thinking I'm Dan Marino, which he's improved as a passer tremendously. Over 4,000 yards. He is a thrower of the football. Accurate. He can beat you from the pocket. But let's not forget, man, who you are. The good old saying says, man, dance with the lady you brought or brought you. Don't you forget about that. It's his leg. So, so when you look at it, Stu, in the running game of the Ravens, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, it's unstoppable. It's unstoppable, and it's up to Todd Monken to make sure that he doesn't try to get Zay Flowers. He doesn't try to get the tight ends involved. Mark Andrews. He's not trying to come out passing to set up the run. Your identity is run the football. That's what happened last year against Kansas City. You led the league in rushing, and you only had 5 called runs to the running back in that playoff game. That can't happen. And when you look at Buffalo, it's the Josh Allen show. It's the Josh Allen show, and I know they got some wide receivers on the outside. James Cook is running the ball very, very well. But the Ravens, they have the #1 rush defense in the National Football League. So what are you going to do if you're Josh Allen? And I'm going to throw out early season when the Baltimore Ravens beat them, I think 31-10 or maybe 35-10.
It was kind of ran it down their damn throat.
Derrick Henry with 199 yards rushing.
That's right.
And you might can load up the box and say we're going to stop Derrick Henry, but that's something about that zone read. But it's the option. Even if you don't pick it up and pass it, Stu, that would be the obvious idea. If 8 in the box, pick it up and throw it, yes. But with 8 in the box now, you still have to be playing assignment football because it's an option. Does Derrick Henry get it or Lamar Jackson? And both of those guys can take it to the house. So, yeah, great game. I think it's going to be a fourth quarter game. Which kicker can be, pretty accurate with their field goals. But I'm definitely going the Ravens on the road against the Bills because of Lamar Jackson.
Joe Ham, the College Football Hall of Famer, likes the Chief, and he also likes the Baltimore Ravens. That's the AFC. This is the In the Huddle with Joe Ham. I'm your boy, Ryan Stewart. We'll jump to the NFC now. Very excited about my team. The #1 NFC seeded Detroit Lions will be playing at home versus the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels blew my mind last week. Jaden Daniels blew my mind last week. I bet against all the rookies. I bet against Bo Nixon 1. I bet against Jaden Daniels, and I was upset. He found a way to get it done. Talk to me about your thoughts with this NFC game with the Lions taking on the Commanders in Detroit. I believe it's the 8 o'clock game this particular weekend.
Well, my goodness. Would you say that Andy Reid deserves Coach of the Year or Dan Campbell? Or neither?
I don't want to be political, but I would love to say Dan Campbell. I would love to say Dan Campbell because that's my coach. But honestly, it may need to go to Minnesota with what Sam Darnold did. It may need to go to Minnesota when it comes to Coach of the Year. It could go to Quinn in Washington with what he did with Jaden Daniels and a rookie. I see 4 or 5 coaches this year that's deserving of the award. To answer your question, and you just said it. I don't want to be on the fence. I should give you a definite answer, but I see 4 or 5 coaches that really deserve an opportunity to get that trophy this year.
Yeah, you spot on. You spot on with that. I totally agree. And Dan Campbell, that's why I brought that up. Dan Campbell, the job he's done with all those injuries defensively. I think it was at one time 13 different guys that was inactive. A few of those guys on IR that's not coming back. I mean, for him and that defensive staff, offensive staff from Ben Johnson, losing David Montgomery in the backfield, and Jahmyr Gibbs taking over and being that power back, being that 3-down back in between the tackles like none other. I think he deserves to go to the make an all-pro team. He's definitely going to the Pro Bowl. It's just too many weapons. There's just too many weapons. And when you look at one thing I will say that Jaden Daniels, the moment is not going to be too big. All right? He's not going to get there and all of a sudden be
I agree.
Stage fright. No,
yeah.
And that doesn't mean he's not going to turn the ball over. That doesn't mean he's not going to make mistakes. But it's not going to be because you need to eat this humble pie or the pace or the speed of the game is too much for him. Nah, he's ready for that. I just think that the Russian defense of the Commanders not very good. The Lions just, very, very balanced, throwing the ball, running the ball, mixing and matching with so many different guys, touching it. Goff being a real Magic Johnson with the football, spreading it around. Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, he is in his bag. I mean, he's been in his bag for, I don't know how long now. He's excellent.
I love Ben Johnson as offensive coordinator getting a call from, I believe it was New England that called him and wanted to talk to him on their bye week. And he was like, nah, no thanks. I'm focused on what we're doing in Detroit right now. I'm not even considering nobody else's job. This is where I want to be. This is what I'm doing, and I'm staying put. Don't thank you for the offer, but I'm staying put. That says a lot to me about the belief of everybody in Detroit with what they're doing right now, Joe.
Yeah, you spot on, Ryan. And I want to tell you this. That might cause Ben Johnson to, if he doesn't like the job, because these coaches sometimes they interview the owner and they interview the GMs of those coaches of that organization more so just like they're getting interviewed. So if he doesn't like the situation, I know for a fact he loves the culture in Detroit. That's why he remained in Detroit last year with Dan Campbell and that GM. I think Holmes is the GM. That he loves him. So I don't think Commanders are ready for it. I don't think it's their time. I think Detroit roll at home is going to be hard to get signals and communicate offensively of Eugene Daniels with that noise. I just like Detroit and the mission they're on without the shadow of a doubt for me.
For the record, man, Mr. Montgomery is suiting up and he will play this weekend.
Yes, he will play this weekend.
And I don't foresee them having to use him much. I think they will allow him to continue to capitalize on the rest and be ready for the following week when they're playing in the NFC Championship. That makes total sense to me.
Makes total sense to me. And I tell you, that's why it's so important to have a good, unified position group room. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, they get along great. They're best of friends. Every time you see them on the bench, they're conversating. They're on the Microsoft pad watching things. They love that. So Jahmyr Gibbs, I think he's a little winded. Tap your head. High school, tap your head. I need one or two. And knowing that your brother.
I need a blow.
Yeah, give me a blow, and that'll be accepted. And you know that guy you trust to get in there. I don't think the game plan will be heavy David Montgomery because he's getting his legs back. But most definitely he'll be a part of the game plan.
Last game of the NFC, Joe, we'll talk about is the Philadelphia Eagles. I believe they traveled to L.A. to play the Rams. Is that right?
No, sir. The Eagles were the 2 seed.
Let me make sure.
The Eagles were the 2 seed, and I'm telling you, the Rams were the 5th seed. So, yeah.
Rams are 4th seed, Eagles 2nd
seed.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay, so the board I'm looking at is incorrect. Eagles and the Rams go down. Joe, I'm never too proud to say when I'm wrong. I took the Eagles to win and took the Rams to lose versus Minnesota. I thought that the Rams had too much of a distraction in my mind when it came to what was going on in LA with the Fires. I said, there's no way they're going to go to Arizona and be able to keep themselves together for this game. But I was wrong, Joe. Talk to me about your thoughts with the Eagles and the Rams.
Yeah, my goodness. Week 12, Stu, I'm trying to erase that out of my decision-making process because,
you can't unsee it.
I can't unsee it. Again, I know it's a new season. I know it's a new game. Both teams are better. But goodness, Saquon Barkley rushed for 255, over 250, unstoppable. I just don't like right now because I see the offense of the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't like the rhythm Jalen Hurts is in right now. I don't know if it was last week coming off the concussion. He had missed 2 straight weeks, whether he was just getting his feet back wet a tad bit, Stu. Just that type of timing. But I didn't like the offensive, cohesiveness at all. Saquon is going to do his thing. But I really I'll pick the Rams against the Vikings, and I'm going to pick the Rams against the Eagles as well. And I'm going to pick the Rams because I give them a distinct advantage on the sideline. Sean McVay and Nick Sirianni. I'm going Sean McVay all day long. Just been there, Super Bowl champion. That just his offense, mix and match, able to get the motions. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, dynamic wide receivers, and Kyron Williams running downhill off the backfield. It's really, really, really good. And our defense, I know they're young with Jared Verse being a rookie up front. You think they miss Aaron Donald, but they are balling. They get after the quarterback. They're very aggressive. and that youthfulness, I think, is going to bode well.
They hadn't missed on a defensive draft pick since McVay has been there. Every single defensive player that they've brought in, and hell, thinking about Puka Nacua, hell, everybody that they drafted is participating in there, an asset on the football field for the Rams.
And let me give you a little bit of another nugget, Stu Dog. Let me tell you this. In Jared Verse, this year's first-round pick was the first time they had a first-round pick since 2016.
And nailed it.
And Puka Nacua was fourth round.
Yes.
Cooper Kupp was later rounds. All those
yeah.
guys. I mean, so now they are nailing it in the draft. I'm glad you said that. And when you look at it, man, I got to give Sean McVay some kudos. Now, again, the Philadelphia Eagles, brute, stout up front. But watch out how key, and I think it's very key, that Nakobe Dean is out for that game, middle linebacker. He was a very key cog. And I know they have the outside linebacker, Braun, who plays very well, but missing Nakobe Dean is going to be a little bit of a setback. I know it's next man up, but you're going to miss Nakobe Dean.
Before we recap the NFC, AFC divisional games this weekend, we just got done talking about the Eagles and the Rams. One more comment about the Eagles before we move on. I was disappointed in A.J. Brown this past weekend when the camera caught him reading the book on the sideline. I have listened to several analysts that I respect, several analysts that I know, and all I gathered from what they've said is that they don't understand freaking sports. I don't care if you're working at McDonald's, and for the people that's listening and the people that's in the chat room, Joe and I didn't talk about this prior to the show, so I don't know his stance and what he's going to say. Okay? This is In the Huddle with Joe Ham. I'm saving the majority of my thoughts on everything that we've talked about tonight for tomorrow morning and the Two Last Tuesdays at 7 o'clock. But, Joe, I couldn't believe when I read today that Nick Sirianni said A.J. Brown reads that book on the sideline every week. This was just the first time that someone noticed it. This was just the first time that there was a camera shot of him doing it. It explains a lot to me about why Jalen Hurts and Sirianni has had problems this season and in the past. It explains a lot to me about how Philadelphia can start off 9-0, 10-0 last year and collapse. It explains a lot to me about why we can see the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles and Nick Sirianni having banter and going back and forth with fans in the freaking stands. I was hurt as a former player to see A.J. Brown reading a book on the sideline during the game. I want your thoughts, Joanne.
Hey, I was just as disturbed. Disturbed. Here's the deal, Stu. You know why you couldn't believe it? Nick Sirianni said that he does that every game. You couldn't believe it. Hey, the reason why you couldn't.
I grabbed my testicles like, what? You just said that out of your own mouth? Okay, I'm sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
No. I love it, Stu, because the reason why you couldn't believe it is because he was lying. How are you going to believe a lie? So that's why you couldn't believe it. He was lying. You cannot believe a lie. And I'm telling you, he was lying. Now, he didn't say he reads this book in the locker room before the games. No. A month ago, or maybe less than a month ago, A.J. Brown said there was a problem with the offense. You remember that? After a win, he said a problem with the offense. Okay. Yep. Since that moment, all eyes were always on him on the sideline.
No book.
I mean, right. All cameras. All cameras
You're right.
would have been on A.J. Brown every game, every drive that you went 3 and out, every time you had to punt the football, every time something happens where Jalen Hurts didn't get a first down, they were going to have that camera ride or follow A.J. Brown all the way to the bench, have it on him throughout the whole time the defense is out there playing their series. No book. So all of a sudden there's a book. No. And you're absolutely right about Sirianni. You can't address this like a head coach. You can't address this and say that, hey, I have to figure out what's going on. I hadn't talked to AJ.
Is it okay for a pilot? Is it okay for a pilot flying from Miami to Philadelphia while flying to open up a book and start reading? Is it okay for the 15-year-old that works at McDonald's while dropping my fries in the deep fryer? Is it okay for him to take out a book and start reading while he's frying my fries?
No way.
Is it okay? Is it okay for the doctor that's taking his finger and sticking it in some? Is it okay for him to start reading while doing that? Then why is it okay for A.J. Brown to read a book during a football game?
He told us as well, I know you read this, or I don't know if you read this, Nick Sirianni said we're making this out to be something that it is not. He's saying no big deal. And you put it so eloquently, Stu, when you say, here's the problem with you talking and flicking off the fans. Here's the problem with the collapse. And that's why I started off my pick by telling you that I have a distinct advantage between Sean McVay and Nick Sirianni on the sideline. I mean, because of those type things, that when it starts going downhill, I don't know anybody on that team that will galvanize the troops. Anybody on that team will talk sense and say, hey, guys, let's go. We have bigger fish to fry. Let's do those type things, man. And when the going gets tough, in which it will, because it's a playoff type game, who's going to step up? So Eagles are more talented. They have the better overall team this year record-wise. I just don't trust their head coach, and I don't trust the way their passing game is, hitting on cylinders right now.
It's the Two Last Stews, your boy Ryan Stewart, joined by the Hall of Famer himself, the College Football Hall of Famer, the State of South Carolina Hall of Famer, Joe Hamilton. It is In the Huddle with Joe Ham. Real quick, man, I got to read this message before we move away from this game.
Oh, good. Yes, sir.
Neff Buck 23 says, never take a LA Cali team over a cold weather team, and it's going to snow. Go Eagles. Your thoughts, Joe?
Oh, yeah, I understand what he's saying. I totally agree with cold weather, warm weather, practicing in warm weather, going to cold weather. I get where he's coming from, but the majority of these guys, that's why you have to dig deep. Where did some of these guys played college? Where did they grow up? Have they played in cold weather before ever? I mean, at some point in time, even when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, it's cold. Now, again, it's going to come down to the running game. It's going to come down to those type things that you can't pass the ball all over the lot if it's snowing. But I don't think the weather will be a factor if it's not necessarily wind. More so cold, if there's wind, it's different. Just cold, I think the Rams will be all right.
In the Huddle with Joe Hamilton, wrapping things up right now. Your boy One Live Stew, Ryan Stewart. Don't forget to join the Two Live Stews and the Two Live Stews experience tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. sharp right here on www.youtube.com/twolivestews.com. We appreciate you. All right, Joe. Last topic for tonight. And you've done an outstanding job. Really appreciate you.
I love it.
Joe, it's going to take a lot for me not to share my thoughts with this.
Well, you will hear mine.
But it's In the Huddle with Joe Ham. Ryan Stewart will share his thoughts in the morning with his brother Doug Stewart on the Two Live Stews experience at 7 a.m. Allegedly, Deion Sanders is considering, I'm sorry, not considering. Allegedly, Deion Sanders has received a phone call from Jerry Jones. And allegedly, the streets want us to believe that Jerry Jones is considering hiring Deion Sanders to be the next coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I don't know if you want to talk about Mike McCarthy and how he played Jerry and showed Jerry his testicles on the way out the door. I don't know if you want to talk about that, or I don't know if you want to go straight to Deion. But give me your take on Prime in Colorado or Prime in Dallas. Is there a difference with Prime in college football and a Prime in the National Football League? Give me your thoughts on Prime, Joe, before we end tonight's show by reading chat.
Yeah, Prime, the football coach. That's what I'm looking at. Prime, the football coach. Prime, the football coach is going to have to be a little bit different than Prime prime football coach in the NFL would have to be a little bit different than he is in college. All right, the mentorship stays there, but you're only guiding, you're only suggesting, you're only, taking it and saying, if I were you. You have rules, you have stipulations, you have mandatory things, but you're not going home, you're not checking grades, you're not having your thumb inside or more so about their business. You're more offhand in the NFL. And I firmly believe that he can touch the lives of men in the NFL as well. I had a mentor myself in Tony Dungy, and there's no way any of the players that he coached can say that he wasn't a mentor, that he didn't change their lives to be better men. Talking about his faith and being strong and the way he carried himself of a God-fearing man. Tony Dungy impacted lives. So it can be done on the National Football League. Now, you can miss me with no, guys are not going to hear it. They're about this. They just want to get paid and go. No, because having discipline is leadership. You have to have that. That's where it starts. But again, the expectation is where I'm at, Stu, with Prime. Will I think he will be successful coaching Dallas? I absolutely do. But what are those expectations? If it's the expectation, like I'm thinking from a Dallas Cowboy fan or all the Dallas Cowboys fan, what everybody thinks of us, that a Super Bowl or bust every single year, that's a lofty expectation. How long are you going to get Deion's Prime Sanders? Because one thing we do know when he goes to a new program, he likes to build his culture. It takes time for him to get his, feet wet, not coaching wise, but just about how he goes about doing things and what he demands and what he wants and how you implement a system, a culture type deal. So that's going to be a little bit different. Jerry Jones is going to be all of a sudden make it to the playoffs, win one playoff game, or Super Bowl or bust. Because if it's Super Bowl or bust, I don't think Prime can take you there right away. And not only because it takes time to build a culture, implement schemes, and do all those things, but when you look at the NFC, in Detroit, the Packers, and those up-and-coming boys, even throw the Commanders in there, you can throw the Rams, you can throw all the up-and-coming guys in the NFC, the Eagles. There are some teams in there, so he's not going to be all those guys that he's going to win a Super Bowl right away. You're going to have to give him time to build, to get there, to maybe make it to the first round, win a playoff game before you say Super Bowl or bust.
You and I, and this is in the Huddle with Joe Ham, you and I have spent countless hours on the phone talking about Deion Sanders. I mean, you and I have spent countless hours on the phone talking about Deion Sanders prior to Deion going to JSU.
Yep.
When he got to the black college, you and I was on the phone a lot. And we can't even rehash it now. We can't even call it out right now. But I do want to say this. Deion and his coaching career spans the length of his children's playing days. He has been his kids' coach from day one. He's done a fantastic job. He's done an outstanding job. I want your thoughts on what he's done to this point. And I want to know, do you remember when I said the minute his kids are done playing college ball and they move on, whether they play or not, Deion will be done? Do you remember me saying that?
I absolutely did remember you saying that.
I thought his whole purpose was to hold his kids' hands to get them where they are right now. And even though I still believe that deep in my heart, he's now parlayed it into an opportunity to be the head coach of America's team, maybe without his kids. Joe, just give me your take on that, because we've talked about it for over a decade.
Yes. Deion Sanders, he's a trendsetter. Deion Sanders is one of a kind. There's no one like him. And again, his purpose was all about developing young people and mentoring them.
He's a mentor.
But now I can see it changing to developing people, just people in general. not young people. He can be a mentor in the NFL as well. The way he goes about carrying himself, the way he goes about the belief and the coaching acumen. I mean, you just don't make it to the level he's made it to the Hall of Fame. I mean, one of the greatest of all time, not knowing how to rally the troops, getting people to follow you. And I don't care at all. I remember back, but in high school, I think it was Trinity Academy, where he was the offensive coordinator. He was an offensive coordinator in high school. Yeah, I know somebody said that's high school, what have you. You got to call plays. You got to have a game plan.
You got to have a plan, right?
You have a plan. And you have to know football. And again, we all know football is football, right? So, but I see Deion as a CEO. I see Deion as hiring the right people. Why wouldn't you want to coach under Deion? But he's going to give you the reins to do what you want to do offensively, give you the reins of what you want to do defensively. And all of a sudden, when he sees a hole and a need to bring guys together and call people out in his own way, however he calls them out, hold people accountable, even fuss at guys that that he's not going to accept or respect. And let's put it real in reality. Not all greats can succeed as being a head coach. We've seen Magic Johnson. We've seen Magic Johnson try it. We've seen numerous other guys try it. We've seen Mike Singletary. We've seen those guys try it. Michael Jordan in ownership. He didn't want to be in coaching because he said, I can't do it. Too much of pressure, or I would demand too much. So just because he's great doesn't mean he can lead, but he has shown us and shown me, because you don't say it much, but I know you got it in your heart because you don't forget many things at all. I wasn't a firm believer in Prime at first. I wasn't a firm believer. I wasn't all in.
Listen, I was not what I was. One thing I wasn't going to do was tell the people that's watching and listening to the show right now how you were the ultimate Deion Sanders hater. I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to do that. I don't want to take the time tonight to do that.
No. See, that's where it goes. That's where it goes left when we talk about it, because the hate is a strong word. But listen, hey, if I can get on the other side of that,
you did not see him having the success that he's had in HBCU ball, as well as in Colorado. You did not think he would be a success. I'll say that. I'm not going to call you a hater, but we debated the ability for him to have success coaching college football. You didn't think he could do it, and I said he could.
No, I'm gonna be very transparent. My thing with that, Stu, was always that, let me see you coach Prime. I want to see you coach. Now I know about everything as far as the CEO and the leader of men, yes, but let me see you coach. And yes, he's shown me, he's proven to me that it's just not a clipboard, it's just not a headset and sunglasses, clock management, all those type things. I really see in Prime, and I have to give respect.
When you say let me see you coach. I don't think Dan Campbell in Detroit on 4th and 1 is jumping in the headset saying, run this play. I don't think he's doing that. I think Dan Campbell is the head coach of the Detroit Lions because he can manage grown men. I think Dan Campbell's offensive coordinator and his defensive coordinator are calling the shots for the offense and for the defense, and Dan Campbell just says, let's go for it on this 4th and 1, and walks away.
Yes.
And then Ben Johnson makes the call.
Yes.
Or
yes,
it's a 4th and goal. Coach Glenn, I think we should go jumbo, but it's your call. And he walks away.
Yes.
I think he trusts his coordinators to do that. What I'm telling you, and I've said this before, is I think Deion may know X's and O's, but he doesn't need to know X's and O's to be a efficient and effective head coach at any level. You need to be able to manage your players. Your players need to be able to believe in you. Your coaches need to be able to believe in you.
Yes.
And what I was trying to tell you for a while.
I got to take it a step. Come on. Yeah, but Stu, again, your head coach, you're absolutely right. But I just want to add, your head coach is going to have to know about time management. He's going to have to know about clock management.
Yeah, but he's got somebody on the sideline doing that. He's got somebody on the sideline doing that.
No, I don't want
somebody. There's somebody that holds the cable to the headset that's saying, "Hey, coach, you got one timeout. Hey, coach, we got 3 minutes left." There's somebody telling them that.
Yeah, but Stu, I understand it, but just knowing how many timeouts you have left and how much time was on the clock, that's just knowing. I'm talking about when to bang one, when to put the situational football. Yes, you're going to empower or enable your offensive and defensive coordinator to do their job. Yes, but you are the guys that's going to make those knee-jerk decisions. When to throw that flag on where you want it to be challenged, where to talk to the refs and maneuver the refs. I'm telling you that's what I saw out of him. That I say, let me see you coach, and I loved when I saw it. Just the time, like Raheem Morris right then. Right, Raheem Morris missed out on some of those nuances of being a head coach where he didn't have to necessarily, he could sit with his arm folded, but when the going got tough and the decisions need to be made, do we go for this? Do we call a timeout here? Do we huddle up? You're going to be the ultimate guy to make those decisions. And when your defensive or offensive coordinator want to try something or they want to bring something out of their playbook that or do some trickery, that's the head coach. Nah, not the time. This ain't the time of the game. So that's the overall thing. What I wanted to see prime time when I said, let me see him coach.
What I'm not going to do is
now you got me sweating.
When he was at JSU, I'm not going to tell people what you said when he was at JSU. What I'm not going to do is tell people how you felt about him leaving JSU. I'm not going to say that. What I'm not going to say is I'm not going to tell people what you told me when he accepted the Colorado job. I'm not going. That's none of my business to tell the people what you said, Joe. But I do like the growth that you've had and you've shown with Coach Prime. Look, man, I consider Deion Sanders a friend. I consider Deion Sanders one of the reasons why the Stews were blessed to get put on the map, because as young journalists doing a radio show on Radio Row in all these amazing cities, when one of the greatest football players ever walks into the entire convention center and says, "Where are the two live Stews?"
Whoa.
I'm going to talk to y'all after I talk to the two live Stews. Somebody come take me to the two live Stews. Mr. Sanders, they're back here. Mr. Sanders, they're back here. Follow me. Follow me. And the whole time he's walking through the convention center,
everybody looking.
We hear him saying, "I can't wait to talk to the Stews. I can't wait to talk to the Stews." That's why I love Deion Sanders, Joe. I love Deion Sanders because Deion Sanders is truly a black man first. Black agent.
I don't like it. I don't like what you're doing.
Black lawyer.
I don't like what you're doing.
Black man first.
I don't like what you're doing. I don't like what you're doing. I don't like what you're doing.
When Deion Sanders insisted on seeing the Stews on Radio Row because of his buddy Jamie Dukes that he played football with at Florida State, when he insisted on seeing the Stews, everybody else wanted to see and sit down with the Stews after that. We had people coming already because we were already syndicated, but Deion literally blew us up on Radio Row at the Super Bowl every year for a decade.
My goodness. That's favorable. That's favorable. I love it. I love it. But the reason why I said I'm not going to let you do that, there's no buts to me when you're talking about that. Don't make me out to be a hater on Deion. Please don't. Please don't.
I'm not going to get into this conversation. I think one day we'll do it on this platform right here where we'll talk about all those things we did. I'm not going to do that today. I'm not. But again, I believe in him because of who he is, and I would love for him to stay in Colorado, but I think if he's really offered the opportunity to go to Dallas, that's just something that he'll have to do. Dallas is still his home. His residence, he's got several cribs, but his residence is in Dallas, Texas.
His estate.
His estate is in Dallas, Texas. There's no way that Jerry could offer him, whether it's a low ball or high ball, whether the money makes sense or not, there's no way that he could turn down the Dallas Cowboy job if Jerry was to put it on the plate in front of him. There's no way. He would have to accept it, even though I think and know he would probably be better doing what he's doing in Colorado or someplace in the college ranks.
He's a praying man. He's a praying man, man. He's going to go. We talked about this extensively as well when we were talking about Deion.
And this is in the huddle with Joe Hamilton. We're about to get in the huddle with Joe and wrap things up. We didn't mean to go this long, but it just happens sometimes. But before we get in the huddle with Joe, go ahead and finish saying what you were saying, Joe.
I said that, he's going to hear from God. I mean, he's always said that, God led me here. I follow what he's going to tell me to do, and I honor it, and I go into it expecting God to give me his best, and I give God my best. And that's what I'm going to trust here, because I think he can have more of an impact staying in Colorado. Now, that's not saying at all that he's not going to have an impact at Dallas. But I just think more of an impact with young adults, teaching them the way to the NFL, how to be young men, just stand-up citizens.
Young men and good fathers. Young men and good
fathers. Good husbands.
We talked about that a lot in Colorado the last few years with these kids, man. All the kids that have kids, all the college kids that have kids, Deion mentored them often about being a good and present father.
My goodness. You're talking about a guy.
Football ain't got nothing to do with football. Let me get you away from everybody else. I don't want no distractions. You got a kid or you're about to have a kid. Y'all come with me so I can talk to you and tell you how important it is for y'all to be in said kid's life.
My goodness. And also, I don't think he will be able to pull this off, but he even threatened the kids at Colorado, saying if I see some grades drop, if I start seeing D's and F's, I'm going to cut that NIL check. I don't know if he can do that. I don't think he can do that, but just him saying that and he letting those kids know that I care about you falling off in the classroom. I care about those type things. I mean, he's just a stand-up guy, man, and go Deion, man. Shout out to Deion Primetime Sanders.
All right, I'm gonna read a few of these chat, and then we will get out of here.
Sounds great, brother.
We get in the huddle with Joe Ham. Mr. International says, and whatever he says, we talk about it. Is it not worth it for college athletes to stay and compete?
It's absolutely worth it. It's absolutely worth it. And that goes back to parenthood, man. I'm so frustrated with parents these days that, it's not your life. It's not your vision. It's not your passion, so to speak. You've done yours. Let your kids develop, make some mistakes, have some adversity, face some shortcomings, and then go out there and compete. First sign of they didn't get their way. First sign of they got demoted on the depth chart. You want to pull them out. You want to enhance, or you want to egg on transferring. That grass is brown. It's not green on the other side, man.
That grass is brown. My man Travis Williams. Joe Hamilton was that dude. And Joe, again, I do the best that I can to keep our personal conversations because there's so many of them. I do my best to keep those personal conversations personal. But I have had to call you or pull you to the side and talk to you on football fields, on the phone, and say, hey, man, you do know who you are, right? Hey, man, hey, look, man. And I'm not doing this weekend because Georgia Tech is playing Georgia. But, hey, I need some tickets. Get the tickets, Joe, because they're not answering my call. But, Joe, they'll take your call, Joe. Can you get your voice? So,
yeah.
What he just said, I want you to understand, man, it's real, and these people love you, dude. You are an amazing dude. You are the most humble star athlete that I know, and you do need to get your flowers, man. You do need to get your flowers, man.
I'm accepting them now.
You're appreciated, man. People love you. Look, man, tonight, Miles got inducted into the Thespian Society something.
Goodness, what's that?
Yeah, he's an actor, and he also is a stage manager. He's the youngest person at the school that they've allowed to be a stage manager. It's what he does. It's one of his passions, okay?
Wow.
But while we're there for him to get inducted into the Thespian Society, one of his buddy's dads walks up to me out of nowhere and goes, hey, man, I listen to your podcast sometime. Can I ask you how Joe Hamilton is doing? Wow. And I looked up at him and I said, Dana, he's doing great, man. I said, man, he's doing great. He doesn't know you, but I'm going to let him know you asked about him. And before we get into In the Huddle, Joe, we're going to end things talking about your fight and your win and your victory. You mentioned to me today that you're on day 103.
Yeah.
And when Dana asked me about you tonight, he was asking me about you because he heard how things happened at the radio station, and he heard how you had a little bit of a hard time. Joe, talk about it briefly if you can. I don't know if it's going to be your In the Huddle, but talk about your 103 days of winning and talk about the fight that you fight every day.
Hey, well, the fight I fight every day, man, is a race all the way to the end. Till the good man, the good Lord, the Almighty called me on home. And I ran up into a few hurdles, unexpected hurdles, but hurdles that, I ran from for a long time, Stu, as far as not acknowledging that those hurdles were there, not acknowledging that, substance abuse and addiction and mental, awareness and mental health. It's impairment. You have to have it. You have to have it, and you can't ignore it. And you know what? You're not excluded. You're not one exception. You're not somebody that say, not him, you're too good. No, 103 days is 103 days sober, 103 days with a clear mind, 103 days spending with my family, being able to be loved, take acceptance of who I am as far as what I've done, what I've accomplished, looking forward to another day, congratulating yourself, not beating yourself up. That inner critic is real. And everybody, especially me, try to put on a mask. I'm doing fine. Everything's rosy and peachy. Not the case. I don't know about everybody else, but I have to throw my hand up. It wasn't the case. And you know what, Stu, and the listeners and everybody that's on the chat line, I used way too much. I can do this. I can handle this. I can take care of it. I need help. We all need help. I had to reach down and get help. The good Lord is giving me help. I feel stronger. The battle is real. It's just day by day, though. I feel good. I feel great.
You're winning, man. You're winning, man.
And when you and I talk tomorrow, I'll say the same thing. I'm doing great for the day. I'm doing outstanding. But it's a positive feeling. It's a great feeling, man. And just a shout out to Jesus. Shout out to true friends, too, Stu. You've always been a true friend, man. And thank you for bringing that up, man, because anytime you want to bring that up, I'll try to put it in some, daily In the Huddle talks about well-being and, mental health and wellness. But, that's something I'm going to always struggle with, but I've overcome it. You know why? Because of the good Lord, man.
You're not by yourself, man. You got people that love you, that pray for you. Again, you don't know the guy, Dana, that I'm talking about from a can of oil. You don't know him. If you saw him in Lenox Mall, you wouldn't know him. But he was concerned about you. He didn't ask me or make the comment to me because he knows I know you and he wanted some dirt. He didn't come to me to gossip. He wanted to know how his favorite quarterback, Joe Hamilton, is doing. He's a Tech fan. He's been a Tech season ticket holder for too many decades to count. So when he looked at me and said, "Hey, man, how is Joe Hamilton doing?" He wasn't trying to be messy.
That's genuine, man.
He cares about you, man.
Yeah, that's genuine. I feel that. I feel that all the way over here. Thanks for sharing that, buddy.
You got it. You got it, man. Proud of you, Joe. 103, tomorrow be 104. Proud of you, man. Really proud of you. Keep on doing what you're doing, man.
I'm going to stay in the ball game, Coach. I'm going to stay in the ball game, Coach.
The great Natty Dread said Lions versus Commanders is going to be a better game than people think. I agree. When I heard that the Commanders were at one point in time, what's the number? I got the number right here. I don't want to lie. They got the Lions favored by 9.5.
Goodness.
Joe, they got the Lions favored by 9. It's minus 9.5 for that game. Joe, that's too many points. And as much as I love my Lions, and I know they're going to hang a 40 burger up, they're going to put up 35, 40 points. I'm telling you right now. But I'm not going to turn around and tell you that Jaden can't put up 35. Jaden can't put up 38. I'm not going to do that.
At some point in time, you run out
as
of
much
Jimmy's
as I
and
love
Joe's.
Detroit to win this game, I take this game as a money line game and them getting the win. I don't think I would touch that minus 9.5. That's too many points, Joe. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that's way too many points, in my opinion. But here you go. Keep away. Jaden Daniels running the ball downhill. Those guys just, playing keep away, owning the time of possession.
And the Detroit's defense is beat up. They're hurt right now. It's not the defense that they want out there.
Great point. And now again, Aaron Glenn, what does he like to do? He likes to play man-to-man on the outside. And I know they have the corners to hold up, but when you play man-to-man, if you don't have a spy, all those DBs are running downfield. DBs are running downfield with their head turned, and the quarterback is running right behind them. So I agree. I totally agree that 9 points is a little bit too much for me to even touch. Right. In the NFL playoff game, too much.
In the huddle with Joe Ham, last chat message we'll read comes from Loose Neck IPP. Colorado was the perfect spot for Deion because of how bad they were. He's done wonders in 2 years, and with the way he commands the room and social media, he will continue to attract talent.
Yes.
Your thoughts on Loose Neck's email?
Yes, and yes. That's why I believe. I mean, again, he can have success at the next level, but he can go out and pick his players at Colorado. I mean, he's not going to be able to do that at Dallas. That's Jerry and his son Steven's job. I mean, so he can really dictate. He can really drive the bus at all. Everything in that program is going to be his at Colorado, and they're going to build more buildings. They're going to get more, equipment. They're going to get everything to Prime's likeness.
Hey, man,
all the superstars are going to come around. I mean, it's just going to be the place to be. College football.
Tickets for football, baseball, basketball, women's and men have all gone up. Enrollment is up at the school. I mean, you're right. He's not going to be able to bring in the guys that he coaches if he was to go to Dallas. I would love for him to stay there and mentor men. I really would.
Man.
But I just think that as little boys growing up, we all wanted to be athletes. We all wanted to be singers or play instruments and be musicians, or we all wanted to drive Mack trucks and control heavy machinery. That's what kids want to do. And if Jerry says, here's my franchise, Deion, I just think it's going to be too much for him to say no. I'll talk about it in detail tomorrow, but I just think if Jerry says, here, Deion, I just think it's going to be too much for him to say, I can't. He's going to have to say, I'll take it.
You don't have to go to the NFL. You don't have to coach at the highest level to be the very best. Yep. All right. So Deion saying this doesn't need the NFL. I understand a lot of people would say that why not coach at the ultimate level, the highest level? That's where you've reached that, I've done all I can do in college. Let me take it on to the next level, like Cliff Kingsbury and some of those guys. That doesn't have to be the case. Hey, look at Krzyzewski, Coach K. I mean, he's a very good coach. Didn't coach in the higher league. Bobby Bowden, he didn't coach NFL. I mean, Nick Saban coached NFL for a second, but I mean, again, he's a great college coach. You don't have to be at the very, very top of the coaching profession to be a great coach.
Okay. All right, Joe. It is In the Huddle with Joe Ham. We really, really appreciate y'all hanging out. This will be something that goes down every Wednesday after the no-show on Stork Media and Entertainment. The no-shows at 7, the Joe Hamilton Show, or In the Huddle with Joe Ham will be at 9 o'clock. Before we get out of here, Joe, we got to let you get in the huddle. What you got for us tonight, sir?
Yeah, man, I've been doing a lot of research and thinking on leadership. And tonight, man, it's always about if you're going to lead somebody or you're going to mentor somebody or have anybody following you, embrace the why. Embrace the why question. I'm talking about from guys following you and the people that's under you. Tell them. Ask me why we are doing this. Now, you have conviction in everything you're doing. We're going to go this direction. We're going to go that direction. Yeah, that's okay. But when they ask you why, tell them in detail why you wanted them to be there on time, why you're running this route, why you want to go to this store at this point in time. Tell them why. I know growing up we didn't like that, or our parents didn't like that because I said so. Because I tell you so. No. That's not transparency, and you wouldn't get the best out of anybody. They're not working for you. Then, if you get them to work for you by telling them why you're doing things, they'll understand better and they'll go along and they'll perform a little better for you.
That's In the Huddle with Joe Ham on Stuart Media and Entertainment. Every Wednesday, we'll do this. That's right. It's called In the Huddle with Joe Ham. Outstanding job, sir. Thank you very much.
God is good, my brother.
Job, sir. He is amazing, man. You get an A+. Everybody in the chat, thank you very much. We appreciate y'all. Do not forget, tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., the Two Last Twos experience will go down right here on YouTube and on Facebook. Y'all catch us and hang out. More with Joe Ham next week on In the Huddle with Joe Ham. We appreciate you. Peace and blessings, y'all. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next week.